I want to hear from you inside the pond. Here we go. All right. There was no sound. So starting 1, 2, 3. Okay. Welcome into the post game show. Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. How this is going to work. We are going to, get your take about the game. I'm going to listen to Saban. Then we're going to come back, bring Saban. I'll have Trey Yanity on with me as well. So I'm going to step away. We're going to show the full stats of the game. In short, Bryce Young, 19 to 27, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns. As Alabama moves to 2-0 on the season, 48 to 14. In fact, you should be able to hear Saban in just a minute, and then we'll bring that to you right here on our YouTube channel. Brian Robinson, 70 yards. JoJo Earl, 7 receptions, 85 yards as Alabama defeats Mercer, 48 to 14. Trey, let's go ahead and show the overall stats and then get your take inside the comment box. I'm going to upload Saban, and then I'm going to come back to you right here on BamaInsider.com. So it's Trey, show them how it's going to look, kind of the overlay. And you'll see us in the background. You might even be able to hear Saban, and then we'll come back once Saban is uploaded to the channel, and then we will bring all that to you right here on BamaInsider.com. So Saban is not at the podium yet. Bring me back, Trey, one more time. Alabama defeats Mercer. It was probably one of the sloppiest starts we've ever seen by this team, but they, kind of dialed in. It was a block punt, and then the momentum started going Alabama's way. Just at the end of ESPN, Saban said, if this team doesn't shake things off, they're going to get shook by Florida. Florida defeated South Florida today, right? Played kind of 2 quarterbacks, but I want to get your take about this team inside the comment box. What did you learn? What have you learned through 2 games of this season? Again, Bryce Young, 19 to 27, 227 yards with 3 touchdowns. Brian Robinson, 70 yards. JoJo Earl, 7 receptions, 85 yards. Is just a freshman. Really, really incredible. Trey's going to throw up the graphic of the stats. You guys hang out in the comment box. Once everything is uploaded, we'll be back right here on BamaInsider.com.
first few possessions of the game, what do you see out there? What went right on?
Well, what do you think? I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, isn't it? I mean, if it stinks, it stinks. Smells bad for everybody. Smell bad for you? Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to do? Make excuses for them? We did a poor job of blocking. They did some movements up front. We didn't sustain blocks. All right, so we didn't have much success running the ball. We stopped ourselves 4 times in the first half with a drop pass on 3rd down, a drop pass that had been a big play pass, and 2 penalties. 1 penalty brought back a touchdown. 1 penalty stopped the drive. So, I mean, I don't know how many possessions we had in the first half, but there's 4 right there where we stopped ourselves. So,
Cooley got his first start today. How would you assess how he did on at the cornerback spot?
I thought he did a good job. I really did. You know, he knew the game plan. He prepared well. He played well in the game. You know, we on the long touchdown pass, I'm not sure if he should have been in the backside half or he should have followed his guy over. I know we busted in the back end on that one, and we busted on the other touchdown pass that they threw too. New group, one side's running one thing, the other side's running something else, so we got nobody in the deep part of the field. So, but I thought Cooley did fine.
There's another big freshman come up there was JoJo Earl. Could you just talk about him as a receiver and a punt returner and what you saw at him today?
Yeah, well, you know, we're trying to get JoJo experience. You know, we think he's an explosive player. You know, he played some last week, caught a couple, you know, shorter passes. We've been working him as a punt returner, trying to get him to gain confidence. So as you know, as soon as we saw that they were going to punt us the ball today, Slade is very dependable back there, but JoJo can be very explosive. But again, you know, penalties. I mean, the one thing you got to have is you got to be able to be disciplined as a player. You got to have discipline as a player. It means the choices and decisions that you make as a football player are legal and you're not getting penalties. And you got to maintain your intensity so that you can have good discipline. And that's how you create the right kind of habits. All right, so we had 5 penalties on special teams last week. I don't know how many we had today. All right, but it's ridiculous. And we got to get it fixed.
Yes, game that got started for you sort of with a special teams play. And I know it may be up and down, but I just wondered if you talk about the overall special teams play today.
Well, other than the penalties, I mean, we blocked a punt, scored a touchdown, changed field position several times with punt returns. And, you know, I thought the kickoff cover team did a really good job. We had several tackles inside the 15 or inside the 20. So I thought the teams, other than the penalties,
I was stupid, but I went.
I mean, we negated positive yards.
I mean, where the hell's he
I don't
throwing?
care how you cut the mustard in a football game. All right, 100 yards usually equals 7 points. All right, so if you get 100 yards of penalties, you just gave the other team 7 points because you gave up that much field position. All right, so when you have a 25-yard return and you get a 10-yard penalty, and that's a 35-yard penalty. All right, so you just keep adding those up, and you see what you're giving up.
Coach, what did you see from Mercer today that could make them contenders within their own conference?
I think Mercer's got a good team. They got a lot of experienced players. You know, they got a system on offense that's really difficult to prepare for because it's not something that you see all the time. So, you know, we only had about, I think, maybe 4 calls in regular and 4 calls in nickel, and make sure we're trying to play them right. You know, they play hard. They play with toughness. Their defense is really plays well. You know, they run to the ball. They read, run, pass. They're very disciplined in the way they play. I don't know all the teams in their conference, and I don't see them all play, but I would say that this is a pretty good team at their level.
Coach, what are some things that you guys are gonna work on for this game to help, other than with the penalties?
I really,
What do you need to do going into Florida to play better other than the penalties?
well, these are all choices and decisions that players make. They make a decision to throw their helmet. They make a decision to grab and throw another guy on the ground, whether it's controlling your emotions. Because when you're emotional, you make bad decisions. All right. So you got to play with intensity, but not out of control. And we got to make better choices and decisions. Just, your question would be like somebody asking me, how are you going to get this guy to quit swinging at balls over his head in baseball? It's a bad decision. It's a bad choice. You can tell them, you can show them, you can tell them, you can show them. And eventually you play somebody else in their place. Because they're not dependable. It's accountability. I have a job to do. I told the story today. Maybe we need more of this. When I was growing up, I worked for my dad. All right. So every day at dinner, he would do that to the table. And there was a reckoning for everything that you were supposed to do that day. So if you're supposed to cut the grass, did you sweep the walk? Did you trim? Did you put the mower away? Did you clean the mower? And if you didn't do any of those things right, you're going to do it again. We might need a little of that somewhere along the line.
Okay, we're going to finish up with Charlie on Zoom.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of touched on Kool-Aid earlier, but do you have an update on Josh Jobe and Jalen Armour Davis? And how do you think both Kool-Aid and Marcus Banks did stepping in for him?
I already said Kool-Aid did a good job. So have anything else to say about that? I think the other guys should be back. We didn't think their injuries were that serious to start with, but they were a little more serious than what we originally anticipated or thought they would be, and they weren't able to practice all week. And I didn't want to play the guys in the game if they didn't practice against this offense. Because it's a lot of rotations and a lot of different things going on that, if you don't get reps doing it, and some of the play action passes they have, which we didn't match very well at the end of the game, especially with the second team in there, are really difficult, and you got to be really disciplined and have discipline eye control to play it. So I think those guys will be back.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you. I
Give us-
hope you all don't think I'm mad at you. I'm not. I'm just kind of, if you're frustrated with the penalties, I'm like 10 times more frustrated.
Thanks, Coach. Okay, guys, we'll be back with players here shortly.
I guess that's we're about to go live. Okay, here we go. Hey fam, what's up? Kyle Henderson, BamaInsider.com, along with Trey Yanity, following Alabama's 48-14 win over Mercer. Here with Trey Yanity to kind of break it all down. We just listened to Nick Saban. We'll kind of pipe that in as we get going. Trey, your take. I mean, in my opinion, it was a very sloppy start, right? And I mean, Nick Saban explained kind of, his take on that and kind of how he felt on that. Your take on that opening of the game. By the way, thanks for joining us. We wanted to make sure we had Saban pressed out and everything like that. Actually, let's see if we can pull in Saban. We just uploaded it. We'll kind of go through it like we usually do. And here's Saban kind of open.
I thought, our defense did a pretty good job until the end of the game. We got to play a lot of players, and they made some mistakes that gave them some plays, but I think the experience will do them well. Offensively, we got to play a lot of players. Obviously, the experience will, help them as well. But, all in all, it was a good win. You got to give a lot of credit to their team. It's kind of their team's dream to play in a game like this. So they're going to play out their dream, and they played hard and they played really good and they had a good plan, and their players, competed their tail off in the game, and I got to give their coach and their team a lot of credit for that. But we got to get ready and look forward to the things that we have to do to try to improve ourselves to be able to, play next week at Florida. It's an SEC game, and we'll kind of go from there. We had some guys out today. Job didn't play. Jalen Armour-Davis didn't play. Brian Ray still didn't play. Will Anderson went out, checking out his knee. He's questionable as to what his circumstance will be here for the upcoming week.
All right, that was Nick Saban following Alabama's 48-14 win over Mercer to move to 2-0 on the season. Here with Trey Yanity. Trey, as we kind of dive into the numbers, I'll post the stats on the screen. Let me see if I can get those as well. Your early take on this game.
Yeah, I mean, we heard the frustration all week long from Nick Saban, and we saw it on the sideline throughout the game. We heard it there in that post-game press conference as well. He was frustrated. He had a good reason to be. There's a lot of penalties in this game, and not just that, but there just wasn't a lot of effort up front. I think the offensive line really set the offense up for failure early in this game. It wasn't Bryce Young. It wasn't necessarily what the receivers are doing or the decision-making. It was the offensive line early in this game. They didn't play well, and then the penalty just kind of piled on. I think overall, you feel comfortable. It was Mercer. You won the game handily. There wasn't ever really a scare of any kind, and you got to play a lot of different guys on defense. You got to play a lot of guys on offense, yes, but I love what the defense did today. They worked in Kool-Aid McKinstry, getting him his first taste. He got an interception today, made some mistakes at cornerback as well, but overall, you tested some things out today, which I think was important, but you just got to clean it up. Nick Saban got frustrated as you expected him to today, but I think this is early season form, and there's just still some screws that need to be tightened up a little bit.
Let us know where you're coming from inside the comment box, and let us know what you learned following Alabama's 48-14 win over Mercer. I think Nick Saban saw this game coming from, 482 miles away, wherever Macon, Georgia is, right? I mean, he knew that the rat poison was there, and it was certainly sloppy. But when you kind of dive into the numbers, which we have on the screen right now, you see that Bryce Young, 19-27, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 177. Tyson got in there through 3 times, and so did Jalen Milroe. I want to get your take on the backup quarterbacks in the small sample size that we saw them. Freshman JoJo Earl led the team in receiving, 7 receptions, 85 yards, targeted 7 times. John Mechie with 5 receptions for 70 yards. And then Brian Robinson, his 54th game for Alabama, believe it or not. 10 attempts, 70 yards, ran tough, ran hard. And then Jalen Milroe, 7 rushes for 33 yards. Trey Sanders, 7 rushes for 30 yards. I think he might have, didn't he fumble? He had a fumble, right? He had a fumble. He scooped it back up. And then on the defensive side, Christian Harris, 8 tackles leading the team. Henry To'oTo'o was everywhere on every single play. What a linebacker, and I mean, such a valued part. Now, Saban did say that William Anderson, they're checking him out, and he's probably going to be questionable against Florida. Said that was his knee. I mean, lost Christopher Allen last week and potentially some sort of injury with William Anderson. We don't have the full information on that yet, but I mean, that would be a devastating blow not having Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Sal Sinceri right now, you are scrambling, but you have depth, like we've been talking about all week. Before Will Anderson was hurt, when it was just Chris Allen, talking about the depth, talking about Drew Sanders, Chris Braswell, maybe some youngsters. Maybe this is Dallas Turner's opportunity to really get a chance and shine. I think he's a mini version of Will Anderson. So I'd love to see that if we could this week. I think Will Anderson is in a much better spot than Chris Allen health-wise. I think, maybe we don't see him even in the first half against Florida. Maybe we only see him for the last 2 quarters because they're worried about it. But I think Will Anderson's going to be fine. At the end of the day, there's just so much depth in this group. And, Kyle, you look at the numbers overall, they just spread out the defense really well today. They had the game plan. They obviously had studied the film a lot on how this Mercer offense works, and they were able to kind of rotate guys around. But what you hear a lot about with this defense is how Henry To'oTo'o is not just making a difference, with his physical ability and the things he's doing tackling other guys, but the way that he's calling plays and freeing up Christian Harris. Christian Harris was the play caller, was going to be the play caller if Henry To'oTo'o had decided to stick it out in Knoxville, but Henry To'oTo'o has come down and just taken on that role, is more comfortable with that role, and has allowed Christian Harris to really do his thing on his own. So I think overall, this defense is working really well. The linebacker group is working really well. The outside linebacker group, obviously, it would be a massive loss if you lose Will Anderson, but there's a lot of depth, and hopefully you can at least keep things afloat until Will Anderson comes back.
What's going on? It's Kyle Henderson and Trey Yanity. Thank you very much for joining us. Only 152 people. That's how, I think people are bored.
You're bored, guys,
right? You're bored.
The ones that are here,
I watch,
you.
I watch the Notre Dame YouTube channel, the Florida State War Chant. They have like 800 people on. You guys are spoiled, honestly. It's crazy. You kind of look at it and it's like 150 on there. Hey, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. There's a lot to take away from this game. I know you were probably out by halftime, but there's a lot to dive into this game. Let's bring on Nick Saban again and kind of hear from him and hear what he had to say. Thought he had some very interesting comments on the offense, especially starting out. Here's Saban as we go again.
Yes, if you could assess the offensive play, the first few possessions of the game, what you see out there, what went right on?
Well, what'd you think? I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, isn't it? I mean, if it stinks, it stinks. Smells bad for everybody. Smell bad for you? Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to do? Make excuses for them? We did a poor job of blocking. They did some movements up front. We didn't sustain blocks. All right, so we didn't have much success running the ball. We stopped ourselves 4 times in the first half with a drop pass on 3rd down, a drop pass that had been a big play pass, and 2 penalties. 1 penalty brought back a touchdown. 1 penalty stopped a drive. So, I don't know how many possessions we had in the first half, but there's 4 right there where we stopped ourselves. So,
Saban is obviously pissed, frustrated after the game, rightfully so. That first drive, as everybody watched, it was really sloppy. Those first couple drives, right? Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. Love the username, love the avatar. It's coffee. We probably need the coffee. And, look, Blues like Bama look like trash.
Wow.
I'm not going to say that they look like trash. It was sloppy from the start. Look, I've been following Alabama for quite some time. You guys have as well. The way that they started was slow. They do that against high-powered teams. They're going to be in trouble. Maybe they were getting it out of their system. Jameson Williams with the big drop and then showing frustration, when he got, his helmet knocked off. Trey, this team showed a lot of undisciplined actions in this game. They have to clean it up. It's early in the season, nothing really to worry about. I thought the way that they turned the rest of the game, they got things going. But your take, this team's probably searching for leadership still, I would assume.
Yeah, it doesn't, I think, it's not gonna have that one leader like we maybe saw last year with Devontae Smith in that core. Mac Jones, really the leader of that offense. I think it's going to be kind of spread out this season. You look back to the start of this game, people want to get upset. People want to get a little bit worried because Alabama didn't come out and immediately jump on Mercer and, get on them with a touchdown and then a turnover and, whatever else. But I think that's not necessarily what you're going to see play call wise moving forward either. I think for Florida, they maybe scheme it a little bit closer to what they did for Miami. You see passes spreading out the defense early on in that game. You started out this game, a little bit more conservative, some runs up the middle. We saw Bryce Young really not get the chance to spread things out in that first sequence of plays there. So I think they're going to scheme things up a little bit differently. But overall, you don't have anything to worry about if you're an Alabama fan watching this offense today, because this is a Mercer defense that's a lot different than a Florida defense, and a lot of these SEC defenses are going to play. And we saw what Bryce Young could do against a ranked team last week, a Power 5 team at a neutral site. This was a home game. This was, kind of had a weird feel about it, Kyle. I don't know about you, but it was just kind of off for that first quarter. Got about 8 minutes into the game. They get the defensive touchdown. And, I think that's going to be kind of what we see this season, the defense fueling the offense. We talked about that a lot this offseason. We're already seeing it so far. And it's great to see freshmen like Kool-Aid McKinstry really be a big part of that early in this game.
And Sean, he puts on a comment. What's up, Sean? Thank you very much for joining us. He's like, look, it was sloppy, wasn't trash, because, and I think this is really good to emphasize on. I think it was definitely sloppy those first couple drives, but from overall, I mean, look what happened to Notre Dame today. They barely survived Toledo. Look at what happened to Ohio State, right? Oregon goes into their home turf, they win. Look what happened to Texas A&M. Barely came back to beat Colorado. That doesn't happen to Alabama. So I think we're so used to and so accustomed to kind of this greatness and this well-oiled machine, and especially how they came out against Miami, that you see the rat poison against, Mercer. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a great point, Kyle, that you're saying that we're so used to seeing this perfection. When you see guys drop passes and, get dumb penalties called on them, I think this is where we start to worry a little bit. But, you have to feel comfortable with this team because they have the playmakers at all times. This isn't, a team that's going to rely on maybe 1-2 guys like some of these other teams we just talked about. Alabama made a lot of dumb mistakes today. That's why you're maybe worried. That's why you didn't feel as comfortable, I think, about this game today. It wasn't because, they got outmanned, because their routes weren't good, because Bryce Young made bad decisions. It's because the players like Jamison Williams getting penalties downfield and guys jumping offside and whatever else, the little mistakes really, I think, added up today.
Yeah, here with Trey, Yanity. My name is Kyle Henderson. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Someone asked, here it is, Juice Leaks, asked about an update on Will Anderson. So following the game, Nick Saban did provide just a small update on the injuries. There were several players. I don't think anything is major. He said Will Anderson at this point is probably questionable for this next game against Florida. So as soon as we have an update, we'll bring that back at BamaInsider.com. Obviously would be a gigantic blow. I think he's the best player in all of college football on the defensive side of the ball. Ajay Hall, Bama boys like, where's Ajay Hall? He caught a touchdown and was called back. Here's something I want to talk about, and I want to get your take on this, okay? Let's just say, behind Bryce Young, let's talk about the quarterbacks, Paul Tyson, Jalen Milroe. I want to hear from you inside the comment box. What was your take on Paul Tyson connected with a deep ball to JoJo, who made an incredible catch? And then on the next play, couldn't find a receiver. It was an overthrow. And then with Jalen Milroe, obviously his running ability is incredible.
Yeah.
And just like I've been telling you guys, they even said on the TV broadcast that he's might be the fastest player on the team. He's got some wheels. What do you think about his throwing mechanics? Your take on the two quarterbacks behind Bryce Young, Trey?
I mean, they're very different from each other, and they're both kind of different from Bryce Young. Milroe resembles his style a lot more, obviously. So I think it would be, if something crazy were to happen, we won't get into hypotheticals this week, but if something crazy were to happen, I think that Jalen Milroe would be the guy you try to build that offense around. It was good to see Paul Tyson air it out today, but, the throw wasn't necessarily the prettiest pass in the world. And, with Jalen Milroe, yes, we got to see him run all over, and he looked great, looked like a running back today, but we still only seen him throw one pass and now 2 appearances. So I'd love to see him, get a chance to throw in downfield or maybe throw something over the middle. Just get to see that arm a little bit more. I get the situation. You're up big. You're trying to run down the clock. Maybe you're not going to try that, in that situation today. But at some point, I would love to see Jalen Milroe really get the chance to air it out, because obviously he's got it on the ground.
Let's hear from Saban. Let's kind of focus. Let's dial it back. Let's focus on some positives.
Yeah.
I know that there was some issues with the secondary, but Saban really liked the play of Kool-Aid, JaQuincy McKinstry, as well as JoJo Earl. Saban talked about those two young men, just freshmen, by the way, got a lot of PT today. Here is Saban talking about JaQuincy McKinstry.
Kool-Aid got his first start today. How would you assess how he did on at the cornerback spot?
I thought he did a good job. I really did. He knew the game plan. He prepared well. He played well in the game. We on the long touchdown pass, I'm not sure if he should have been in the backside half or he should have followed his guy over. I know we busted in the back end on that one, and we busted on the other touchdown pass that they threw too. New group, one side's running one thing, the other side's running something else. So we got nobody in the deep part of the field. So, but I thought Kool-Aid did fine.
And by the way, that wasn't us in the background. Someone didn't mute on Zoom, so we were hearing their audio. So I apologize for the audio interference. JoJo Earl was just a freshman, recorded 7 receptions, 85 yards, also had some success returning punts. In my opinion, I like him a little bit more than Slade Bolden returning punts. I want to get your take inside the comment box. I know Slade Bolden had a nice touchdown, kind of leaped over someone who was trying to tackle you, and or trying to tackle him. But your take on JoJo Earl, and then we'll play this clip from Saban.
Yeah, really like the ceilings, I guess, on all these young receivers. And I think JoJo Earl has the highest ceiling of all of them. But it's nice to think that regardless if it's Slade Bolden or JoJo Earl, there's a lot of talent there. And it's, two different really powerful styles. Slade Bolden's that veteran. He's going to be a little bit more consistent. But JoJo Earl, has that electric spark ability that I think he could really bust open. We saw it today. He got a little bit of space, kind of got caught up, in one of his blockers, actually, his teammate. But you could really see that burst of speed that we saw from guys like Jalen Waddle in the past. As far as receiver goes, I would like to see the rotation continue. We saw somebody, asking just a second ago in the comments about Ajay Hall. Would love to see Ajay Hall a little bit more. He was kind of the guy that we highlighted after that 8A game. So, just getting these young guys in there is great to see. I think Nick Saban is going to kind of ease some of these guys in a little bit more than others. But I think JoJo Earl is going to be the first guy in this group, maybe the Jerry Jeudy of this group, if you will, to kind of, really lead the freshman wide receiving corps.
So JoJo Earl is a guy that Saban earlier this week, I think he said on the Hey Coach show that he kind of has a little bit of a Jalen Waddle to him. Certainly has some good shake. Had 7 receptions today. I thought he did a great job. It's kind of like I was calling him, maybe the unofficial coach will take this, JoJo the joystick. I don't know if it's going to stick.
I like that.
I know you guys like the unofficial team up, so we're going to have that again this coming week with Coach P. But here's Saban talking about JoJo Earl.
There's another big freshman come up there was JoJo Earl. Could you just talk about him as a receiver and a punt returner and what you saw at him today?
Yeah, well, we're trying to get JoJo experience. We think he's an explosive player. He played some last week, caught a couple, shorter passes. We've been working him as a punt returner, trying to get him to gain confidence. So as soon as we saw that they were going to punt us the ball today, Slade is very dependable back there, but JoJo can be very explosive. But again, penalties. I mean, the one thing you got to have is you got to be able to be disciplined as a player. You got to have discipline as a player. It means the choices and decisions that you make as a football player are legal and you're not getting penalties. And you got to maintain your intensity so that you can have good discipline. And that's how you create the right kind of habits. All right, so we had 5 penalties on special teams last week. I don't know how many we had today. All right, but it's ridiculous. And we got to get it fixed.
There was a moment on the TV broadcast where Saban was clearly frustrated, animated, yelling. I think he was yelling at Daniel Wright. Yeah. I think he was yelling at even Jalen Moody. He was probably yelling at everybody who was next to him. Frustration because Coach Saban demands perfection from his team, provided some good life lessons after the game. You can watch those in its entirety on our post-game YouTube channel. So, we're not going to keep you too long. I mean, Alabama 48, Mercer 14. I'd like to see you guys more inside the live chat. So definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, and thank you for sticking with us on Saturday evening. Enjoy the rest of your college football. We'll be back tomorrow, the day after that, with more coverage on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama will head to Gainesville, Florida next to take on the Florida Gators, who are 2-0, also on the season, defeating South Florida. Kind of curious which quarterback they're going to go with. I think cool. Emory Jones has thrown 4 interceptions in the first 2 games.
He has, but
right?
He ran for a touchdown today. Looked really good. But the other kid, I think, was 3 for 3.
Is it Anwar Richardson?
Anwar Robinson.
Anwar Robinson. So Anwar Robinson, they were calling him AR-15.
Yeah, I was going to say it was like
AR-15.
That's
so
awesome.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. Enjoy Nick Saban's press conference. We got more coverage coming your way tomorrow. Enjoy this 48-14 win over Mercer. And thanks for joining us right here on BamaInsider.com.